Hi everyone, today we're going to go over lesson 4.6, quadratic inequalities. This is our last new lesson for the semester. You should be familiar with this chart from chapter 2 when we did linear inequalities. And so I'm going to quickly go back over this though. If we have a dashed line when we graph our inequality, that means that we have used either a less than or a greater than symbol. And if we have a solid line, that means that it came from a less than or equal to, greater than or equal to symbol. Just like with linear inequalities, we will have a region or a shaded area that is our solution, and we're going to shade above or below based on whether we have a less than or a greater than, just like we did with linear. However, in this case, we're going to look at above or below as being from the vertex. So keeping that in mind, let's go ahead and look at some examples. In these first 4 examples, we want to match the graph with its inequality and then identify one point that is a solution. So the first thing that I want to do is for each of these 4 graphs, I want to identify whether we are dashed or solid and if the shading is below or above. So let's look at dashed versus solid on number 1 and number 2. I can see that for number 1, we have dashed. For number 2, we also have dashed. So that means immediately that the symbols that we will need to be using are these. It's either a less than or a greater than. How we determine which one is by looking at the shaded region. On this one, remember, we're going to go from the vertex, and I can see that my shading goes below the vertex. It's outside and below. On number 2, if I look at my vertex, I can see that the shading goes up from the vertex, so it's above. So let's go ahead and say that. So this one is dashed and below, and the second one is dashed and above. All right, so let's go ahead and look at our table here. And for number 1, we are dashed and we are below. So that means we are looking for an equation or an inequality with a less than symbol. Looking at our 4 choices down here at the bottom, I see that choice A has the less than symbol. So number 1 is going to be A. Number 2, dashed and above. Okay, so dashed tells me that I am on this row, and above tells me specifically that it's a greater than symbol. So looking at the bottom again, my greater than symbol is on C, so C is going to be my answer for this one. All right, we were also asked to identify one solution on each graph, so let's take a look at that. I'm going to just pick out a point that lies in the shaded region, and I selected this point right here. You could have selected any, but I selected that one. That is at point 4, 0. On number 2, any point again, and I'm going to pick this one, which is at 0, 4. All right, let's look at 3 and 4 now. We looked at 1 and 2, and we know that we have used answers A and C already. On number 3, we are solid. And also on number 4, we are solid. Looking at the shading from the vertex, this one is shaded above, and from the vertex, this one is shaded below. So we are solid and above, solid and below. We have solid and above on number 3. So solid is here, above is here. So we have a greater than or equal to. So greater than or equal to, that is D. And finally, by process of elimination, B must be the answer for number 4, but let's just confirm it with our table. We're looking for solid and below. Solid and below is a less than or equal to symbol, And so I can see that that is indeed the B. Finally, let's go ahead and pick out a couple of solutions for 3 and 4. So on number 3, I chose to do a point right here. Remember, you're picking any point in the shaded area. That point is at 2, -4. All right, and then solid and below, I went ahead and picked the point 2, let's see, if this is 4, then this must be 6, 8, 10, 12. I picked 2, 12, or -12.